What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 60 of To the Show We Go. We have Chris Henrique and myself, Andrew Parker. Today's episode, we have one of the newest members of the St. Louis Cardinals, former Red Sox organization, and former LA Dodgers organization. It is the Nick Robertson episode. Now, Nick, I know 2023 was probably your craziest year to date for your professional career, but I want to start off your off season. Obviously, you went through a trade in December, but how has the off season treated you? I guess just outside of baseball.
It's been good. The first couple weeks after the season's over, come back home and take a little bit of time off, getting to see some family and hang out with them. And then my wife and I went on like anniversary honeymoon this December to Cancun, so that was a lot of fun.
Okay, and I have to ask. So obviously, in December, the trade happens. Was it something that took you a little by surprise?
Yeah, I think at first just because I was getting ready to go eat dinner with my family, and then all of a sudden I got a phone call, and Breslow just introduced himself to me and was talking to me for a little bit, and he said he just wanted to be the first one to let me know that they were trading me to the Cardinals. So it kind of caught me off guard by a decent amount.
And so I guess following up on that, like what once it kind of set in a little bit, what were the initial thoughts on where you were heading? Obviously, the Cardinals have a great reputation. They have the second most World Series wins of any MLB franchise. Very storied. St. Louis loves their baseball. So, what were your thoughts, I guess, on the destination you were being traded to?
Just really excited. There's not a ton of Cardinals fans like where I'm from, but the couple of them that I do know and like have talked to, like they've been Cardinals fans their whole life, and they just love like watching the team and supporting them. And then I went out there for the Cardinals winter warm up in their Caravan, and just seeing how many people came out through the cold weather that we had was just awesome.
What was your initial reaction? Because they do it a little differently, I think, than what the Red Sox do. As in, they all go out to out to Springfield and kind of put everybody up on the stage and all that. And I think it's interesting that the Caravan they split up all the guys and they have them go to places in Missouri, places in Illinois, just like all around the area. So, what was your takeaways from after completing the Caravan?
It was cool. I enjoyed it. I was on the Caravan that went to Springfield, so I had been there a couple times before when I was with the Dodgers playing in Tulsa, so I've seen the other side of it. But to be on the Springfield side and like see all the fans and like how much they come out and support the team, I think it was just really encouraging.
So we have to dive into 23. So I pre off season trade, obviously. So I talked to you a little bit, and I think the story, about the trade coming over from the Dodgers to the Red Sox, and you were just getting your feet wet in the system. But what was you also spent some time in the MLB bullpen. So I guess looking back on 23, you made your debut. You got traded to a new organization, well, two at the end of it. But what was your takeaways from, I guess, during the season? Just I guess I want to hear from you on if you look in the rearview mirror, how would you, describe how 2023 went the baseball season?
I'd say it was pretty good. Definitely exciting to be able to make my debut and be a part of a major league bullpen. But I definitely think there was a bunch of learning curves and just like lessons to learn. Just looking back at it, take some of the stuff that I learned from once I was up there and kind of implement it into this season.
And what were your thoughts on spending some time in the Fenway bullpen?
I loved it. Just being able to be up there with those guys and talk to some of the older veterans who have been there and kind of learn from them. Just it wasn't a very successful season for Boston standards, but just being able to learn as many lessons as I can and like how to pitch in certain situations, that is priceless.
Yeah, I wanted to jump in there. So, a couple of things that we noticed was you used the sweeper last
Mm-hmm.
year. How'd you go about learning that pitch, and what was that process like?
So it started when I was with the Dodgers. I didn't throw my slider very much, and I was just kind of looking for a third pitch at first to be able to land for strikes and just kind of get them off the fastball and change up. And then once we settled on the sweeper and it got consistent, it kind of turned into a better all-street pitch than I was hoping for at the start. But now I'm excited to keep using it and get it consistent. But I think it's just another weapon that I can use coming in out of the pen.
Use the changeup a lot, and then it almost seemed like that went away. Was that something like the Sox had you stop utilizing while you came over here? Was that something you kind of got rid of halfway through the season?
I don't know. I think it was more of like at the end of the season, I kind of switched. I had more confidence in the sweeper, even though I just learned it, and I was able to execute it a little better than I was with the changeup at the end. So I think it was more of like personally executing stuff, and then just like, I face a ton of righties, so I think it's a good pitch to righties and lefties. But for the ones, depending on like their heat maps and everything like that, I faced a lot who struggled against spin.
And last one under like that pitching. You also kind of like move some spots on the pitching rubber. Do you do that a lot? Is that something that you tinker with? Is it just try to get like a different feel, different angle? Because I mentioned that because there was a few guys in Worcester. Paul Abbott had them move around. I know Caleb Ort was one of them. He had to move closer to the first base bag. Just kind of get your thoughts on moving around on the rubber.
Yeah, so I've been on both sides in previous years, just whenever going back and forth. But this year, like when I switched, it was more of a trying to create a angle to throw the fastball inside the lefties. We had talked about it and being on the first base side when I was struggling against lefties, like my fastball going into him was kind of coming more on a straight path, as opposed to being on the third base side and it creating a little more angle from the side.
This sweeper talk has gotten me just kicking the tires a little bit, but Nick Pivetta has been very open about a new pitch that he learned and started throwing last year, and Chris Martin had a lot to do with it. He was talking very highly of a pitch he called the whirly bird. As when you were in Boston, did you have like any veterans? Like, did you get to pick any of their minds, maybe about like any of your pitches, or does anybody stand out to you that did that?
I wouldn't say
home. Stream the voice overall.
Not sure what happened there. Sorry.
I wouldn't say like pitches in particular, but just like facing hitters and like being able to kind of read them a little bit better. And like, yeah, you have a plan when you're going up against a hitter, but just kind of like if that plan changes during the at bat. I'd say I'd talk to Marty a lot, and then also would talk to Pivetta whenever I was around him, even though he was in the dugout, I was in the bullpen, but just learning anything from those guys.
All right, I got to ask a random question here because I know my good friend Ed Hand would want me to ask this, but how and when did you earn the nickname Big Country?
I got it when I was in college, but if you ask any of my closest friends, I'm not really that like country. Like, yeah, I'll wear boots and like work outside, but I don't go hunting a whole lot. I'll fish every now and then. But in college, my freshman or sophomore year, I can't remember, I wore a cowboy hat and boots to a party, and just from then on, that's what they kept calling me.
So it's one of those things, and obviously the big part's just due to your height. So, So how did that stick though? Like, I guess I saw I was doing a little bit of digging, obviously, and I know when the JMU baseball account would post like "Do your thing, Big Country," and obviously when you would come into the game, so that just like stuck. And then once you got to pro ball, I guess people just kind of heard about it and kept it going.
Yeah, I didn't get called it as much in pro ball. There's a couple people every now and then that would call me that. But yeah, my time at JMU, it just kind of stuck the whole time, and that's what people would call me. So I just kind of went with it.
I'm going to steal this from Chris because he did ask something earlier, but were you a two-sport athlete growing up?
I actually played 3 sports in high school. I played golf, basketball, and baseball, which golf was more kind of fun. I wasn't very good at it. Still aren't very good at it, but I enjoy playing it. But I'd say predominantly basketball and baseball.
So when did you have to decide? Because I remember back in the high school days where they're just like, the coaches come around, they're like, you're going to have to choose like one or the other. So when did that decision have to come for you?
I'd say probably I realized that I was a little bit better at baseball, and like even at my size in high school, 6'6", you're playing center. And then you go to college and you got to play a guard or forward, and I just wasn't fast enough, couldn't shoot, didn't have the enough handling skills for it. So kind of realized then, like, okay, I'm decent at baseball, so maybe I should keep working at this.
When did you hit the growth spurt?
In between my 8th grade and freshman year, I went from, I think, like 5'10" to 6'4". Yeah.
I'm still waiting for that.
Huh?
I'm still waiting for that growth spurt.
Your parents must have hated you on all the new clothes.
Oh, yeah, just going through clothes, and then there was never food or anything in the house because I would eat it all if I stayed at home. So,
oh man, I couldn't even imagine. But I had to ask. Just I know that once you got traded over, it's a big thing because I know the Red Sox just drafted 2 guys in the 2023 draft that were like 6'7" a piece. Then they just traded for one from the Yankees that was 6'7", and they're always sitting. And one of them's nickname was Big Tex. Actually, it's kind of funny. Nice. But everybody makes such a big deal about it on Red Sox Twitter. I don't know if you do you pay attention to what people say on social media? Are you one of those guys that likes to search your name, or are you more just like I don't need to see it?
Yeah, I don't really try to search as much. My family always does, like after a game, and they'll try to tell me, and I'm just like, I don't want to hear about it, whether it's good or bad.
I feel like that's the better way to go, especially you've played for probably 3. Well, you're about to play for the 3rd, but probably 3 of the most iconic franchises in all of baseball, and their fans are pretty diehard. I know Dodgers fans through and through, and Cardinals and Red Sox. That's I feel like Twitter is probably not a fun place after a bad game. So I had to ask. But I want to ask about I said I wasn't gonna do it earlier, but I am gonna do it. The original trade. So I know I probably asked you about it, and I probably have put an article out about it, but I just wanted to ask again now that we're on the pod. But coming over in that mid-season trade, what was it like for you switching organizations in the middle of the season and having to reacquaint yourself to facilities, coaches, new teammates? Like, what was that process like for you?
Just kind of like a lot of shock at first. Like anytime during the season when the trade deadline comes around, you're kind of like, okay, are they going to trade for somebody? Am I going to get traded? So it's like a little bit of a panic, but just being able to meet everybody made it really easy. And I think coming over with Hags made it a lot easier too. Just being able to know somebody, going around and meeting a bunch of new people. But as far as like the coaches and stuff, everybody when I got traded had reached out and just made it super easy.
And so you mentioned having Justin Hageman with you coming over in the trade. That kind of helped a little bit. Did you guys were you guys weren't throwing partners right away, were you in Worcester?
I can't remember. It might have been like the first day we weren't, but after that we just started throwing with each other again. And
was it hard having to say goodbye to him once you got traded the second time?
Yeah. I texted him because he just got him and his girlfriend just got a house in Jupiter, and I was like, hey, you got any extra room as soon as it happened? And he was like, oh, you're leaving me? And we just started talking about that, but it's fine. I'm going to enjoy it. He's going to enjoy it. So
what were some this offseason, trade aside, any of that? I know you obviously got to enjoy some time. You said earlier you got to enjoy some time in Cancun, so that's probably well-deserved after the long season. But we've talked to a lot of guys that are very big into where they train in the off season. A lot of Cressy guys floating around. A lot of, I mean, there's you name it. There's a ton of other facilities out there. But where have you kind of been calling home this off season for training purposes? And I guess what kind of things have you been working on heading into next season?
At the beginning of the off season, I was just back home where I grew up, just working out at the local gym and then going and throwing at my high school. Now I'm in Knoxville with my wife. She's doing a physical therapy clinical at the Children's Hospital here. So we're out here she'll be out here until the end of March, but then I'll leave next Friday. But I think the main focus is just like overall strength and then like consistency in the pitches, being able to execute them whenever I want to more often than I did last year.
I hope you're okay with the Vols country out there. I don't know if you grew up a fan or what, but
no, my wife's family, her whole family, are actually huge Alabama fans. So,
it's
tough. Alabama above your.
Got some Alabama stuff up above the wall.
So did they go in mourning, I guess, after Saban retired?
Yeah, they were pretty sad about that.
Do you like for just for like sports in general, when you're not doing baseball, you an NFL guy, you follow the NBA, do you do other sports? You just strictly focus on baseball?
No, I enjoy watching football. I'm a big Packers fan. So I enjoy watching them in the fall when we get done with everything. And then my dad went to Virginia Tech, so I've always been a Tech football fan. We used to have season tickets.
Who are you rooting for in the Super Bowl this year?
Oh, if I had to pick a team, I'd probably say the Niners.
Yeah, I think America's with you.
I don't know. I don't know. I kind of have a weird respect for Patrick Mahomes. I know people in New England hate it because every title that he wins, it's one title closer to Tom Brady. But I don't know. I mean, I thought his offensively outside of Travis Kelce, he didn't really have much to kind of throw to this year,
right.
And he still made that work. So I'm kind of rooting for that. Also, too, if Andy Reid retires and Bill Belichick does happen to slide in there, he'll be like the luckiest dude on the planet to be able to coach Tom Brady and then Patrick Mahomes. So yeah. I guess I'm secretly rooting for the Chiefs, but I mean, I wouldn't hate if the Niners won.
Yeah.
I have a couple. We're all over the place. I'm sorry, this is how this podcast runs, but I'm dipping back to the baseball side of things. I had a question. You had Tommy John surgery in 2017.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel after having the Tommy John surgery? Do you feel that, I guess, post-surgery, post-rehab, do you feel that you took things from that process and implemented into your game today?
Yeah, I would say so. I think the whole process was kind of eye-opening, because committed to JMU, went up there and pitched in the fall, and not that it wasn't easy, but just going up there and being on the team, and then all of a sudden before my first season I have to have surgery, and it's oh, okay, well, if I'm gonna get back there and play, you got to put in some serious work. So I think the whole process has definitely helped me as I've gotten into pro ball, is everything's not going to be perfect and you're not always going to be successful, but you're going to have to work from the failures and learn from them and then just build back up and get right back to it.
Did you have to notice or did you notice any changes within how you go about either preparing or after you're done working out now that you've had that surgery? Are you pretty much kind of back to normal as what you were pre-surgery?
I would say now I feel pretty back to normal. I started doing since the surgery, I've started doing a lot more arm care when I'm done. Kind of increasing long toss to help strengthen the arm and just try to do as much as I can so that way hopefully it doesn't happen again, which it could happen whenever, but just trying to do as much preventative stuff to take care of it as I can.
Were you familiar with the website Sox Prospects after you got traded to Boston?
No, I was not.
Okay, so there's a website. They're very big on all things like Red Sox, minor leaguers, everything. But so every person and they make a page for everybody in the system, and they actually do a pretty good job with it. But I thought there was something interesting on your profile that they made for you. And it's, they kind of go through like, the mechanics, like what pitches you have, career notes, like all that stuff. So there is one thing though that I wanted to ask you about. So they put on here that you have, when you're on the mound, you have an aggressive bulldog mentality. Is that something that you would agree with?
I would like to think so. That's how I feel when I'm out there. I mean, I know I don't show a whole lot of emotion, whether it's something good or something bad, but personally, I just can't do it. I feel awkward when I'm trying to show emotion, like after something good happens. But I think the biggest thing is just like nonverbal communication. That's why I try to keep like a straight face and just be out there and like just try to attack every guy.
So you've never been a guy to strike a guy out in a big spot and let out a big roar or like pound your chest, nothing like that?
Nope.
So you don't have an issue though, do you? Like on
No.
either side?
No, I don't have an issue either way. If I give up a home run in a big spot or just a home run in general and somebody wants to flip their bat and celebrate, like, I don't care. You earned it, Or if a pitcher comes in and like second and third tie game and strikes the last guy out, like, who cares if you show emotion? Like, you should be excited for it.
I'm with you, and I think a lot of people are, but the way you're describing yourself right now, which I did look as well, and you've closed out a few games in your professional career and college career.
Mm-hmm.
And we always kind of joke about this, especially like when we were hanging around the team in Worcester this past year. It struck me like a guy like AJ Politi that's very calm, very collected, very quiet, goes about his business. But when he's on the mound, he's kind of a lunatic, like in a great way, obviously.
Yeah.
And you have to be if you're going to be on the mound in the ninth inning. If there's two guys on, only up by one, like that's the guy I want out there. Is closing games something that you kind of live for, and is that something that going into now that you're into year 2 now of being in the professional, like in the big leagues, is that something going forward that if you ever get that opportunity, you're going to seize it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I'd say it's something that I live for, but I would say like just being able to have that opportunity is a great thing because most of the time when you have a closer, like you're trusting that guy to get the last 3 outs and finish the game. And I definitely enjoy doing it, but I'm open to whatever the team needs me to do on any night, whether it's come in and early relief or middle relief, whatever they need me to do. But I do think that there's a certain aspect of closing games that just makes it fun.
I gotta ask it. I don't want to ask it just because we talked about it so much in the season. Chris knows what's coming, but I want to know your thoughts. I just asked Corey Rozier, who came on the last episode, and he spent some time in Worcester. But I need to know: do you like or dislike the ABS?
Depends. When I was in Oklahoma City in 22, they had it that year, so I got some experience before the people in Worcester got it and before they changed it. And I don't think it's bad. Like, I think if they could figure out a better way to do it, it would be good. But I think the hardest part is when, you're in AAA pitching to the ABS, like you're trying to throw balls over the zone because, the umpire's not calling it if it might be an inch off the zone. And then when you get caught up, you've been doing that for so long, and it's like, okay, I'm not trying to miss over the zone, but like just what you've been doing, you're kind of like trained to do that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that because like I was talking with someone earlier this week about the ABS, and they were kind of basically saying like you look at some AAA hitters who raked and they get called up, and then it's almost like they seem lost of the dish. And it's, well, when the ball is pretty much over the heart of the plate, or it's going to be, in that box that, that you're getting, it's almost like it doesn't create. I don't want to say like fair. I don't think that's what I want to use, but it doesn't really, I think, set people up when they get to the next level. Same thing too with the pitchers. I even look at it from the catcher side of it too. Did you get a chance for Caleb Hamilton to catch you when you're in Worcester?
I feel like I probably did. I think I got each one of the catchers a couple times.
Because Caleb was pretty outspoken on just, not a fan of the system, especially for someone like him, who Chad Tracy called him an elite framer. And every time that we bring him up, I say that, and being able to see that, every single week, you could totally see it. That's why it is intriguing to kind of get an idea of how you guys felt about that. It kind of is what it is, right? You got to go by it, but it seems to be really like a mixed bag. Some guys are just like, yeah, it is kind of what it is. Others, are pretty vocal about it. Is that something though you would want to see at the big league level, or do you think that the game's still in a good enough spot where you don't need to have that?
Yeah, I don't think that the ABS needs to be there. I think if they were going to try to implement it in any way, maybe use the challenge system. But even then, I feel like that's pretty far away still. Because like you said, like the defensive catchers who are so good behind the plate, it kind of takes away from like half their job,
Yeah, I just look at somebody like that who, if that's your calling card, you know what I mean? That's your bread and butter. If a machine's just going to say, balls or strikes, it's almost like, how do you go about, reinventing yourself? There are just some guys who are not good hitters. You know what I mean? Like, it just is what it is. Like, you can work at the craft, but where if you're, elite defensive catcher, I feel like the game is slowly like erasing that art out of it. I don't know. But.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Nick's heading to, I think, a good example, which he's heading right to Yadi or Molina country, which I know Molina had some good years offensively, but his calling card was the way he managed the staff, the way I think I saw a stat the other day of his throwing out runners on base was just like astronomically higher than whoever was next on the list during his tenure. But it is kind of taken away from that. It's like, are you going to have another, if that gets implemented, are you going to have another Yadi or Molina? Like, I don't know. It's like, but all right. So ABS aside, but I did want to know though, I don't think there's any stats, any way to track it. And I don't recall offhand, but did you ever get to hit tap the head for a challenge when you were pitching?
I didn't personally, just because we had a meeting when I was with the Dodgers and we kind of talked about like, the catcher probably knows the strike zone better than us. And like, pitchers can be a little emotional when it comes to strikes and balls. So we would always want to tap our hat or do whatever on the mound to check it. But I kind of left that up to the catcher just because I feel like he had a better judgment call on where the pitch ended up and kind of knew the umpires back there.
Did you like that aspect of it though? Like when you did see a challenge and it was like maybe late in the game and they would shoot out to the video board and the crowd would be like, oh, like as it's coming in to see if it is. Like I feel like everybody kind of likes that part.
Yeah, I remember one in Worcester this year. We were playing Norfolk and I think the tying run was on second or third, and the umpire rung up the hitter and the hitter challenged it because they had one left, and it ended up being a ball, so it went from 2-2 to a full count. I was kind of like, oh, that's nice.
I remember that. It was Politi was on the mound. I asked him about that because I think it was the last game of the year, maybe home game, I think.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, we were all down there like ready to go out on the field, and they were just like, thought it was over, and then they were like, no, it's a challenge, and everybody was like looking up the board. I thought that part was kind of cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Chris, I have a couple more baseball-related questions, and then I'm going to get into my speed run. So do you have anything left in the tank here?
I'll wait till you get to the speed run because I might be able to piggyback. I might be able to piggyback off that. Okay.
So you played in 2023. You made your debut, and you got to call home the two oldest ballpark. Oh, never mind. Two of the three oldest ballparks in the league. Wrigley's still a thing. They're not going to tear that thing down anytime soon. But what was it like, I guess, calling Fenway Park and Dodger Stadium home for you?
It was really awesome. I went to Fenway for the first time when I was in college. We were playing against Northeastern, and we went to a game on Thursday before our weekend series. And just sitting in the stands up there and kind of looking around, I was like, man, this place is pretty cool. Like, it'd be awesome to pitch here. And then Dodger Stadium, the first time I went there was in the off season, and just being able to like be there and see the stadium and how it was built, it was so cool. And then being able to like actually pitch in both stadiums and like see people there for the game, it's just kind of like breathtaking.
Was it I forgot to ask Hageman this, but the cool thing about Worcester for the Red Sox organization is you're about a 45-minute drive, give or take, to Fenway.
Mhm.
Now, in the Dodger system, Oklahoma City is not a 45-minute drive. You got to hop on a plane. So, what is it like for you and your old teammates when they give you a call? You're in Oklahoma City, and they're like, "Hey, you're getting called up. We need you in LA." And then when you get sent back down, you got to get on that flight halfway across the country. So what is that like, I guess, for in a AAA affiliate being so far away from the big league club?
It's not too bad, you know. Like whenever you get called up, most of the time, like depending on when it is, like they'll let you know like after the game, and then pack all your stuff, leave early, get on the first flight in the morning. And as far as coming back, like they just put you on whatever flight to wherever you are, and then you get the rest of that day, and then you get 3 days, I think, when you get option. It's either 2 or 3, but for the most part, everybody that got sent back would just kind of take that day. Even if I got back at 2:00 and they had a game that night, I would just put all my stuff back, kind of relax a little bit, and then go back to the field the next day.
Which way did you prefer it? Did you prefer it being within driving distance, or like, okay, I can take this flight, kind of decompress a little bit?
I liked it in Worcester just because, you know, if I needed to do something or if I got called up or option, like all I had to do was just hop in my car and go one way or the other. And I think that made it a lot easier.
What was
Fair.
it like driving in Massachusetts? I'm always curious because I've lived it my whole life, but I'm curious. What'd you think of it?
I didn't think it was that bad, except for as soon as you get into the city. Like the way it brought me in, I think it was by Boston University. We come in that way.
Yep. Okay.
And when I got there, that's kind of when the traffic started, and I'm not used to a lot of traffic like that, so it wasn't great. But as far as like getting there from Worcester, it wasn't bad at all.
And you must have missed out on the Mass Pike, because there's some horror stories out there on in between Worcester and Boston. That place is crazy.
Yeah, I didn't see anything too bad during my time going back and forth.
So like I said, we're all over the place in this podcast. I'm going to continue that trend. I'm dipping back into some spring training talk here.
Right.
You are about to start a spring training with a new organization. You didn't even get to experience Fort Myers and Red Sox spring training, but
right.
what kind of things are you, I guess, ready for? I guess just being obviously in Jupiter now. And you're going to have the entire new organization right in front of you. Like, I guess, what kind of things do you have in mind as you're going into a new organization spring training?
Mostly just like make some friends and get to know people. I think that's a big part of teams being successful, is how close you are with your teammates. And I know a couple people there. I got to meet a couple people in the Caravan, so just kind of like making those relationships better and getting new ones. But as far as baseball wise, I think just trying to go in and be consistent every day.
And I have to ask, I've seen it a little bit out on Red Sox Twitter and stuff, but have you gotten to chat with Heim Bloom since he's gotten hired by the Cardinals?
I haven't talked to him since he got hired by the Cardinals, but my wife and I were sitting there eating dinner when the news broke, and I saw it on ESPN. I kind of tapped her on the shoulder, and I was like, "Hey, look!" So that'd be cool to see some familiar faces there.
Well, he's obviously pretty big on you since he traded for you. So obviously that he's a big fan of yours. So does that make you more comfortable that you have familiarity with a guy in the front office that has gone out of his way to acquire you in the past?
Yeah, I think so. Just having somebody to be able to talk to that I know definitely helps.
Okay. All right, Chris. I have speed run of questions that's going to be even more random than what we've done, Nick. So,
Okay.
unless Chris, empty the tank here. What do you got?
No, you stole my thunder with the Bloom question, so appreciate that. No, I want to hear what you got for this rapid fire, and I'll see if I can bounce off of that.
Nick, are you prepared for the speed run? This is, I think, I have 16 questions that we can get done in less than 2 minutes if you're ready for it.
Oof. I'll see what I can do.
It's off the wall, man. It's not really baseball related, but I got some faith in you.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna start it off. Movies, shows, or live TV?
Live TV.
Best baseball game you've ever played in as a pitcher?
I'd say the Pablo Reyes walk-off was pretty cool.
Okay, that's an iconic one. What song will be your walkout song in 2024 and why?
Oof. I hadn't had a walkout song the past couple of years, so I'm still deciding that.
What are some considerations for it?
Dire Straits, Money for Nothing was my one in college, and then I also had September by Earth, Wind, and Fire, so maybe go back to one of those two.
Sheesh. All right. Some good ones there. It's going to be a tough choice, by the way.
Yeah.
By the age of 30, you want to have accomplished what?
Just being successful in life inside baseball and, more importantly, outside of baseball. Just being there for friends, family, whoever needs it.
So ABS aside, we already talked about it. If there was one rule in the MLB or minors that you could change, what would it be?
I'd say the limiting to 2 pickoffs.
I thought that was for sure going to be pitch clock there.
I don't mind pitch clock. I don't mind it.
Okay. Do you mind the shortening of the pitch clock that just happened?
I don't think it'll be that big a deal. I'll have to see how it goes, but I think it'll be okay.
Okay. Favorite athlete outside of baseball?
I don't know. Let me think.
You can pass if you need to, but
Jordy Nelson.
Jordy Nelson, nice.
Okay.
Favorite TV show of all time?
Just finished watching Game of Thrones, so that one was probably up there right now.
Do you think the last season was rushed?
I do, but they were talking about how much money it cost to make an episode, so I kind of understand it.
Okay. I don't even want to know. It's probably something insane, wasn't it?
It was pretty bright. I thought it was great. I just thought it was rushed.
Yeah.
Weirdest baseball superstition that you have or you've seen in person?
Not anymore, but when I was in high school and college, I used to drink a thing of apple juice and eat 4 mini powdered donuts before I would pitch.
Why did that stop?
I don't know. I just kind of realized that that wasn't the best thing before a game, so kind of just stopped doing it.
Okay, fair. It's nutritionists in minor league ball would probably get on you for that one.
Yeah.
Like, really, dude?
Yeah.
All right. I like that one. Who is the player you have played with or against that left you thinking like, sheesh, that guy was probably the best athlete I've ever seen?
Probably Mookie.
Like that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
What is a guilty pleasure of Nick Robertson?
If my mom makes cookies, I got to have at least 3 of them that night.
What kind of cookies does she excel in?
She makes we call them pan cookies, but it's basically just cookies in a cake pan or a brownie pan. And I love them.
Oh man! All right, you're a married man. So, what was the most stressful part about wedding planning?
Well, if I say anything was stressful, my wife will know I'm lying because she did all of it. But I would say getting everything set up because we couldn't go in early. We had to set up everything the same day as the wedding.
It is stressful. I'm planning my wedding right now, and my fiance is the real MVP. So I understand that.
Same.
Most important question I have next: favorite fast food fried chicken chain?
I don't want to go Chick-fil-A because that's too mainstream.
Good man.
I'd say around where I am, probably Bojangles. But
Okay.
Cane's is a close second.
Can we get some love for Zaxby's?
I don't have it that often, but when I do have it, it never disappoints.
Okay, I'll accept that. We're gonna stay on the chicken line here. Are you a drums or flats guy when you get wings?
Ooh, I like flats.
Drums.
Okay.
I love drums, but I can mess around with some flats.
I'll dab them both. I got 3 more. We can knock these out. This is a little more than 2 minutes. I'm testing this out. So
Okay.
You've already kind of hinted at this, but do you have a go-to pregame stack now?
When I was with the Dodgers and OKC, they always had Uncrustables. So I would say if I can find an Uncrustable, that's pretty go-to.
All right. One fun fact about JMU or weird fact that most people wouldn't know.
Well, if you go to JMU, you know it, but if you don't go to JMU or haven't been associated with it, they have a bar downtown where they let you smoke cigarettes inside.
Like 1960s right there. It's kind of like the nostalgia right there.
Yeah, I didn't partake in it because I can't handle the smell, but
yeah, I'm with you. Not a cigarette guy.
No.
Also smelling like one. I can't stand it.
Yeah.
All right. Most memorable part of the day when you made your MLB debut?
Probably looking up and seeing my family in the stands.
Well, that was I think I went over 2 minutes, but I got through all 16 in about 4 or 5. So I think I can live with that. But Chris, any last comments to follow up before we let Nick go?
You said live TV. What besides live TV? And you talk Game of Thrones? Any other shows that you're big into? Netflix, HBO, Max? Like what's your style?
I don't watch a ton of shows, but my wife and I watch a couple. We love Hell's Kitchen.
Okay.
And Gordon Ramsay, and then MasterChef a little bit. We watched that for a little bit, but then we stopped. I'm trying to think if there's any more. Nothing that really comes to mind right now.
I feel like there was a general theme once you do have the fiance / wife living around. It's a lot of cooking shows, a lot of HGTV, which I actually don't hate. So
yeah, I actually kind of like it. So it doesn't bother me at all.
I could watch hours of Chopped.
Yeah.
Like hours of Chopped.
Yeah.
All right, Nick. Well, you've given us a ton of time today. We super appreciate it. Obviously, you only have, the calendar's already here in February. So
yeah.
Best of luck going down to the new spot for spring training. Best of luck this year with the Cards. We'll obviously be paying attention to that. But thank you so much for hopping on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.